Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an interesting day at the office, also known as the Red Bull Ring. We are back for Season 10 of SIMseniors, and we hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good evening. Hope you're enjoying yourself wherever you are in the world at this point. Now, tonight, we've got a good race up ahead of ourselves. It is the third round of the season, which means that we've got a lot to be looking forward to. We've had a couple of rounds under our belt by this point, so we have got a bit of an idea on who we should be keeping our eyes on, but of course, let's go to our racers and see what they have in store. We're about to finish up with free practice, and then we'll head into qualifying. But the Red Bull Ring, deceptively difficult track. It's very simple on the surface, but it's the altitude variation. It's the camber, it's particularly turns 3, 4, 5. Very easily get it wrong. And that is a characteristic part of the track that's seen a lot of action in previous years of racing, as well as that final corner, which can be all too nasty to track limits, invalidating many a quali lap in its time. So, lot to be keeping our eyes on. Of course, we've got some familiar faces out here tonight. And in terms of the championship, we have got first off our gold class. We've got Frederick Guillemard, currently the leader, although he's on exact parity with Lindblom. Both of them got 78 points. So how much does Guillemard want it? That's the question. He has got a penalty, which is what's bringing him down to Lindblom's current position. And both of them are sharing first place, and then third is going to go to Peter Wolfslener in the Mustang. A lot of high-end Mustang drivers here in the gold class, but looking at the silvers as well, we also have some interesting names, namely Radislav Visharek coming out on top with 77 points and 68 points for Eero in the Porsche 911. We have Robert Homer as well completing that top podium, and then a good mix of McLarens, Vantages and Ferraris making the way of the rest of the grid, followed by the bronze class drivers, with Diekman being at 79 points and currently leading coming out of round 2. Olsen and Dismukes are holding some really good results here, and particularly I'm impressed with Olsen showing some really solid performance out of this start of the championship so far. So there is a lot that we can see going down, and I think there's going to be a lot for us as an audience to be surprised by, as we're seeing some faces that are certainly showing their strength early on in this season and really looking to turn their fortunes around. But enough of that for now, because we are going trackside, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be joining the drivers now, and we're going to see exactly what they have in store. Martinson first out on the grid. Typical, we do tend to see this number 7 Mustang want to jump out as soon as he physically can. And he tends to set a decent benchmark for the rest of us to follow. Question is, will he be able to adjust to the Red Bull Ring? Might be a bit more favourable to the Mustang, having its strengths in the straights. We'll see coming up to the first corner. Big jump in onto the brakes, nearly touching 250 kilometers per hour, and staying in second gear to power out, keeping the revs low. You don't want to kick out the rear axle on throttle as you make your way now to turn 2 and then turn 3. The uphill braking zone, so you get a little bit of help with slowing down. But then just as quickly, you need to nail your exit. Get back on the power as soon as you can. It makes his way through. Fairly clean run. Now starting his way back down the Styrian Mountains. A wide run through turn 4. Snake yourself in for turn 5. And then get in the best position you can for that nay triple right-hander, one could argue. See through the right now. And now looking like a quick run through. Final corner. Got what it takes. And nicely done by Martinson, but just invalidating a little bit too far there. Apologies for that, folks. So, back into it, and we're seeing a good roll of initial times coming in for both the bronze and the silver class of cars. Particularly impressed by North. Now, he's had a bit of a middling season, and he's had a little bit of a wobble in his performance as of late. Maybe in part due to the confidence, but he seems to be in solid ground once more here in the Red Bull Ring. 29.4 exactly. It's going to be second fastest time, only slower than Robert Homer, currently third position in the championship for silver, but looking to turn his fortunes into winning ones. Visharek is not going to be too far behind with a .837, and then Stuart Holmes seriously impressing from the bronze camp with a 30 flat, 30 perfect. That's the number 21 car of John Gabbert, losing it out of, I believe that is turn... I'm forgetting how to count. I'm forgetting how to count here for a second. Please ignore me. Let's say I believe that's turn 8 there. So Gabbert returning to the pit lane. Smooth and easy does it is the name of the game here. With some of these corners, you just want to preserve your speed as much as you can. But only 5 minutes left on the clock before the class change. So let's see what's going down. I'm curious as for the remaining cars who have yet to set times. We've got quite a few. So Michael Ball out on track. Hopefully going to have better fortunes than his previous attempts. Coming up to the line now. 34.3 installation lap. Let's just hope he can actually put a time down on the boards. He wasn't afforded such luxury last time. Frank Tennant comes across 32.4. And then everyone else at this point is part of gold. So it's all about last-minute improvements now. Homer coming up to turn 9 was flashing with some embers of a fastest lap here. Sector 1 and 3, key points of improvement. Will he be able to match and bring it? He is going to get a much better Sector 1, but Sector 2 and 3 were left lacking. Yeah, very much left lacking there, unfortunately for him. So, couple of drivers who we should be monitoring. Peter Smith is massively jumping up the order, 29.3. Really impressive stuff there. And already the gauntlet is being thrown down. Let's see right away who is gravitating towards Austria compared to the previous rounds. In a way, it's almost smoother, more flowing nature lends itself to a lot of progressive driving styles. And it certainly has its favourites in terms of car choice. You can get away with a bit of more of a power orient at this course. Even if you don't have the aero, the camber and the altitude variation of the course does do a lot of work for you. Just as important, though, that you don't overestimate said advantage, particularly in that last corner. You can see where it drops out and flattens. That is a big source of understeering where a lot of drivers invalidate their lap times. You can see now coming through, Martinson has a chance to improve here. We have 2 minutes left on the clock, meaning that it's going to be last chances coming through for the remaining drivers, the bronze and the silver cars, before we eventually get to the swap over and we get to see what the top brass has to show us. Will they be able to teach us anything new? That's what tonight is all about. Seeing who's going to be able to push and give it their everything. Gabbert comes through. P8. New fastest time, 29.472. It's going to be a tough position as he's right in the heat of the moment. Gabbert is going to peel off to the side of the track. Martinson coming up to the line, though. Looks like an improvement on the cards, and it is just enough to pip Dickman and in a top 10 spot. We'll hopefully see likes of Dismikes as well as he comes up to turn 9. See if he has some of his own magic to bring forward, as he has really been doing well in the bronze. Looking like a mighty improvement on his time here. Let's just see if he can bring it up to the line. Could potentially get into the 29s, and he does. Excellent work there, because that's going to slingshot him quite substantially. That's going to put him all the way in P3 in group. So, amazing stuff. But now it's time to get those gold class cars on the field, as the first 10 minutes of qualifying has drawn to a close. Finish your times, finish your runs, and get your car back to the pits so that the top class can have their qualifying round now. Randy Zimmer impressing, but unfortunately invalidating. 28.9, but a not legal run. That's going to lay that claim to rest. Craig Morrison, one of the last on the previous bout to get his lap done. So up through to the line. Could be a potentially 29 here. This is 29.7. That is going to be one of the last runs, and that's going to be where we switch gears now. Lenatus leading and having a grand return following his absence from the previous round. So let's see what the gold standard is. 28.8 to beat. That's going to be courtesy of Robert Homer, who's getting officially pole position for silver. And then Peter Smith looks to be the favourite heading into the round today for the bronze drivers. Got a lot of different storylines, different battles. Let's see what Lenatus does to show us the kind of pace that we can expect from the golds now. Lenatus smoothly making his way through turn 6 and 7. Now, last arc through for that Audi. Gotta say, gnarly sounding vehicle. Up to line, no. And it's going to be a 28.5. So, great stuff right out the gate for Lenatus, but his reigning position is not going to be lasting long. It's going to be immediately displaced by Guillemard and McNair. McNair surprises with a 28.267, bringing the hammer and making a big splash at the top of the timing board. Hermé is going to slot into 4th, and Dave Marsh is now in 6th, as Larson has just impressed with a 28.6 flat. Chris Bourne also coming through just up to the line in the 118 Mustang, and that is a 28.372. Now we have the installation laps. Now we have the primers. It's time for everyone to really open up the taps and push, push, push. Chris Spawn is currently teetering on the edge, as is Johan Larsson of a fastest time on the circuit here. Is going to be on board with Wolfslanner, as he's going to be starting a lap proper. Validation on his previous. Not going to be afforded that lap. And though it does look like he's gone into the wall on the inside. Actually, no, he's managed to keep it out of the Armco. And he's just gone into the grass. Lucky dodge there, for sure. We're going to see Gayamar push the envelope even further. 27.9. Immaculate work there. But Lindblom is going to make his return onto the scene. 27.6. Absolutely crushing sectors 2 and 3 to bring home a impeccable time. Only 2 cars in the 127. It rivals Gayamar and Lindblom with a close punch of Colin McNair. Chris Bourne's just going to displace him though. 28.030 on the cusp of the 27s, but not quite reaching that high. 5 minutes left on the clock. A lot to play for. Good quali here at Austria is going to be crucial. That is absolutely crucial here. Good fight and a good starting position. That could set you up for the entire race potentially. So let's see if anyone's going to be able to bring a better time. McNair was on an improvement, but he's lost a lot of it in the final sector. He did get into 28.0 with a 0.62, but just not enough to push into 27. 28.080 from Ascari Herme coming up to the line now, and we'll see if Lindblom is going to push his envelope even further, as he was briefly flashing purple. Dave Marsh up to the line, 28.4. That's going to be enough for 7th place. Lenatus is going to have a bit of work to do himself, as it looks like what was an initial solid showing hasn't been improved or iterated on since the start. And now he's in trouble of falling outside of the top 10. With drivers around him continuing to push and gain more time, the Larsons both up by at least a few tenths of a second. James Payton following suit. We're going to have quite the conundrum here, and a lot of pressure riding on the shoulders of those top 10 drivers to really make something out of this lap. Improvement from Wolfslanner is going to push Johan Larsson and Patrick Larsson out of that cusp on either side of the top 10. You see Gayamar, no improvement on the previous lap, but maybe that was just a setup for this one. And Lindblom is going to come across the line, but gets a 0.7. No improvement from the leading NSX. Up to the line though, Johan and Patrick Larsson. Who's going to get the improvements? Patrick comes up into P8, and Johan is going to come up to the line now and leapfrog him. 28.3. As Dave Marsh just behind pushes the both of them back down a peg. Colin McNair continuing to push and close up that time. Gayamar, Bourne, Herme and Lindblom all in the 27s now. But nobody is yet to get into the 27.7, so Lindblom completely skipped that tier. Went straight to a 6.90. And with 1 minute 30 on the clock, this effectively means if you're not across the finish line by now, then you are looking at this lap being your last. The last couple of cars to cross the start-finish line, and then we'll see if anyone's going to be bringing that a little bit further. But of course, see a lot of cars heading into the pits. deciding they haven't quite got the improvement and it's not going to be worth pushing. Better to reset and get ready for the race ahead. Here's Björklund. Minor time loss, in fact major time loss on the final corner. So it comes across the line 28.5. It's not quite there, but he did get across the line before the flag showed. Dave Marsh peeling into the pits. He's going to retire out of this session in a strong P7. But will it hold? A couple of drivers might have something to say about that, although a lot of them are peeling into the pits relatively early. As Björklund into the pits, Marsh as well, Patrick Larson, Matthias Holmberg, just to name a few. See, this is going to be Chris Bourne retiring out of the session. He's not going to have enough chance to go again. And we'll see Lindblom just cross the line at the threshold of the checkered flag. Wolfslander coming up to the line now. This is going to be his last run as the checkered flag falls. He is going to mark the first post-checkered flag finishes. And it's going to be a P6 for the 196 Mustang. Is there going to be any response from Damien Reed? Comes up to the line, but it's just shy of his fastest time, so no improvement from the Candied Lexus. We have Linatus making his way down. 28.5 to beat. Is it enough? It's a 28.8, so no. He's going to be outside of that top 10 to start things off here. McNair is not going to be able to push further on his 27.8 run. Amazing stuff from the 5 drivers who managed to cross that barrier. But last runs under the belt. You are looking at your qualifying order and your starting order, ladies and gentlemen. Tirano. Last chance. Make it count. Final corner. Clean execution. You do still have a bit of a grace timer, so luckily you can use that to your advantage. Serrano pushes himself up into P13. Last cars across and no improvement from Lindblom, but that is still more than enough to net him the pole position from the gold class, with Herme and McNair following not too far behind. Following on from that, we have Robert Homer taking for the silvers in the number 6 Porsche, with Alex North and John Mitchell joining him in 2nd and 3rd respectively. Barring that vantage in the middle, looks like it could have been a Bavarian lockout, but not the case today. Finally, in the bronze classes, Peter Smith impresses with a extremely solid opening run, and a run that refused to budge for the entirety of the session, leaving Peter in the lead of the bronze and in pole for the red driver numbers. Ibrahim Diekman is going to be in 2nd place, and then Diesmukes is going to finish off that top trio in the bronze category. And with that, this is about to get things underway. We're going to take just a moment to appreciate all of the drivers and everyone putting in their A game to make this possible. Of course, not just talking about the drivers as well, talking about all the work that goes in on the staff side, or the organisation, the website to run everything. So if you do enjoy, at the very least, consider a subscription to the YouTube channel just to keep up with the championship, liking the stream if you do enjoy what you see, and if you want to get more involved, we have our Facebook group followed by our Discord server, and see where the road takes you. Just waiting for final session confirmation. And now it's time for the race. 60 minutes on the clock, as always, here at SimSeniors. For those who are new, if this is your first time, your first rodeo here with us, it is a 60-minute race with a mandatory pit stop. That pit stop is only requiring a fuel top-up, but you also have the option of tyres. Now, I'm looking at the track. It's a beautiful day here at the Styria Mountains, and something to notice right away, track temperatures. Now, this track is merciless on your tyres sometimes. Particularly with some of those high-load corners, it is a brutal mistress when it comes to the race and when it comes to the session ahead, drivers are going to have to be acutely aware of their car condition. But we are going to take a bit of a walk across the different members of the field today, and we're going to be appreciating just some of the liveries as well. So we'll start off with Lindblom, the ARTA NSX, closely followed by a bit of a blocky homage in the 169. That's going to be Hermé. McNair in third with his classic Iron Brew livery in the Nismo, and the Mustang of Chris Bourne really impressing tonight with his Mustang, and closely followed by fellow Wolfpack racers Frederick Guillemard, championship contender and fighter, and Peter Wolf Slenner not too far along. Number 444 Mustang now, it's Nicholas Björklund, and then it's Dave Marsh with, I gotta say, a very nice looking, very sweet looking NSX. Two more Mustangs now, it's going to be for the Larson, Johan and Patrick. Very different colour schemes, but very strong pace. Linata's going to be rounding out the latter end of the pros / gold class drivers alongside Holmberg, Serrano, Reed and Payton. 15 starters here for our gold class before we move on now to the silvers. Just taking in some of that design work as well. Beautiful stuff. Homer is going to start off our silver class order with Alex North lining up alongside him with that beautiful homage livery. Going to be another homage next to him in the Rothman style Porsche of John Mitchell, followed closely by a sort of Takara Tomy homage of its own right. It's Radoslav Vishrek. Arscombe with the black and yellow, and then Peter Smith, pole position and top runner for the bronze, coming out tonight with his black and blue McLaren. Randy Zimmer in the Ferrari in a bright orange we've come to know and love him for. John Gabbard having a much more explosive take on his McLaren 720S. Diekman in the Porsche alongside Iro Yasuri, both of them strong contenders and fighters in their own right, know how to run a race and certainly keep the tensions high. Niesbet in the Mercedes AMG with Martinson in the number 7 Wolfpack car, followed by the McLaren Shadow 213 of Craig Morrison. After that, it's a straight sweep for bronze class drivers with a couple of mixes of bronze further up. It's going to be Diesmukes, it's going to be Olsen with the carbon, it's Stuart Holmes with a very bright and sharp, I think that's new for today, BMW skin. Triquette with a couple of interesting colours as well, and a bit of a carbon matte finish for Barry Finley in his Mustang. Deep chrome blue for Anil Thurtson in his Porsche number 157, and the blue following along to Christian Sullivan too. Rounding out your order, say final few cars now, it's going to be Johnny Bowden, Johan Tetru, Rick Quinkellenberg, Michael Bull and Frank Tennant alongside Chris Wilson to finish things up. Just getting exact read on all of the drivers, but there you go, 41 cars join us today, and a lot of potential racing beauty, no other way to say it. They'll be gracing our screens this fine evening. So if you have a driver you're looking out for to bring their A game, to bring the points home and potentially upset this championship, make him known now. Speak now or forever hold your tyres. You're certainly going to want to hold on to them with the temps that we'll be seeing from these cars. It's running hot, and we're going to see a lot of different challenges face our drivers today, but in order to finish there must be a start, and the track is hot here for round 3 of season 10. We're going to get in double file now formation for the green flag to drop. You can see the cavalcade and the tsunami of racing machines making their way to the start line now, and that green flag is set to drop any moment now. Anytime here it's going to be going, and there we go, that is the green flag. We are racing, we are away, and immediately looks like challenge is afoot as Hermé is going to lay claim to the inside. Big sweeps from some of the others, but major contact as Linata's getting caught and spun round by one of the Mustangs. That is not looking good for him at all. He's marooned at the side of the track. He had to wait for everyone to pass in order to make a safe U-turn and get back onto fighting form. Squabbles up and down the course as everyone is just frantically trying to get some position, get some pace. Get a bit of room to breathe. No chance of an easy resolution here. You've got to be fighting hard if you want it. There's Gayamar, and it looks like a couple more of the Mustangs all going into the gravel, coming out of turn 4. Things are looking a little bit dicey for some, but the fight is more than there. Curiously, Lindblom has managed to immediately dispel the challenge of Hermé and gain himself 1.5 seconds thanks to the fighting around him. Now that is something impressive, if I would say. See, Hermé is going to be pushing. Still going to want to get that P2 back, but McNair is really just showing his mastery of the Red Bull Ring right now. He's not letting anything faze him. Nothing is going to phase these cars as Larson go for an attack on Marsh here. Making their way down to turn 4. There's the NSX sniffing at the chance, but not being able to quite bite. Quinn Kellenberg has had an issue seemingly. He's dropped down quite a lot of positions quite quick. You can still see 2, 3 wide as everyone is going for chances and attacks. Michael Bull on the inside. I believe that is the silk cut livery inspired by the XJR9. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there. That white and purple, very distinct, especially with the hints of gold that have, I think, been adapted very nicely. We are getting a couple of minor contact flags, but nothing majorly dramatic at this point in time. Linatus, you can tell that he's frustrated. He is pushing hard now. That's going to be Michael Bull going off the side of the track there, just in the background. Let's say there is going to be Linatus trying to gain as many positions as he can. And curiously, Randy Zimmer is into the pits. Zimmer in the pits this early on, that's never a good sign. Never, never, never. Even so, it's not going to stop the rest of the field from having a good time. And we'll see that Nisbet is no different. So we are a couple laps in. Now it's just about establishing your home turf, your home base in terms of position. And getting some major trouble. Oh, saying that though, Hermé is down. Hermé is down. He is going to be all the way around, and we're going to jump straight to a replay on that. We're jumping aboard with the helicopter. Looks like he had a fight with McNair that just went a little bit too hot. Let's take a replay. We'll deduce and get to the bottom of it quickly as we can. And oh yes, you can see there is a spin. There is minor contact for one of the Mustangs and major contact for another. And the rest speaks for himself. That's going to be Peyton and Homer, both going off the side of turn 9. A bit of a peculiar pace, peculiar place to go off. Can't say that I see people going there a lot, but an unforced error sometimes can happen. You see Quinn Kellenberg going very hot into turn 1. Very much pining for the position of Michael Bull. How hard does he want it? Well, we'll see how much he gets those elbows out. That will be the ultimate tell. Your minor contact warnings for a couple of cars. Olsen, Sullivan, banging wheels and going alongside another racer. Looks like it's going to be Trickett on the defense there. A couple of cars already feeling a bit of casualties. See, Dismukes' front end is very much damaged. He's not got a lot of chances to really catch and push quite a few of the bronze field ahead of him, so it does ride on it here. Herme going for a recovery, getting past now. That's Iro. Challenging hot onto the inside. There's Anil. Thirdson holds his ground. He's not going to be budging in the face even of such fast competition. You see a bit of a dart onto the curbs and push out of the exit is going to be the slingshot that the NSX needs. So decently recovered, and certainly well on his way to restoring positions and getting them back. Oh no, looks like that's Ibrahim off on the inside of turn 8. There's a bit of a wobble there. Simultaneously, that's going to be Frederick Guillemard out of the pits after a very early pit stop that certainly surprised me. One can only hope that he's going for a very aggressive undercut. And if that is his play, then that is a high-risk move. A very high-risk move, even. Because he's certainly not going to have many people pushing him further. You see Wilson challenging drivers around him, and he's making a push of his own. So Thirdson still trying to catch up to Ascari, but I think particularly as he comes out of turn 4, you can see the difference that it makes. He's not able to really get that advantage pressed. Serrano. Now the top 10 is fairly set in stone now, and we do after about 10 minutes start to see a bit of a divide in the distribution of racers. We've got a top 9 lockout for the gold class racers, and then Mitchell knocking on the door, albeit a few seconds away. That's going to be Guillemard lapped down but pushing forward as much as ever. Bisharek is going to be more the target of Mitchell though, as he's going to be more of an immediate threat. We do see Bourne getting marooned down further, and then we have was the casualties that we saw earlier in the race. It's the likes of Herme, it's the likes of Leonatus. Of course, we have Guillemard, as mentioned, who pried a pit stop. There's also a silver lining here for many. Now, Peter Smith, unfortunately, has lost quite a few places. I think his strength lies in the quali. and it hasn't quite been able to translate in the same way, as Christian Sullivan is going to get quite a swing on him out of turn 4. Aggression is high at this stage of the race. We are crossing over that 10-minute line. Bit of insight as well, just receiving via the chat, courtesy of Hamby. Thank you very much, mate. Gaomar with damage. And that is a big reason behind the choice to pit in as early as he did. Olsen is off the side of the track and completely spun in turn 1. On the inside, no less. Although it looks like chaos has erupted, as there is multiple cars flagging yellow and major problems making themselves known. Looks like a contact between two cars. Let's wind the clocks back. This is on board with Peter Smith heading into turn 2 and 3. Let's see exactly what went down here. We've got the 231 of Holmberg and the 113 of Smith. Holmberg on the back and contact made. You can see Smith tucking into the inside, and Holmberg goes off to the outside of the course and seems to wait there. You see there is going to be a couple of other cars that we ought to watch over. Gabbert, Bourne, just to name two. So we can see a couple of flags coming up for Hermé. Hermé playing a little bit of game. And now we're going to see a bit of push between a couple of cars. Diekman, Hermé, together. Looks like Hermé is going to be going into the pits early. I wonder if he's picked up damage in the same way. Leave that info in the hands of our trusty trackside specialist, also known as the live chat. Of course, thank you to everyone who does give us a little bit of extra insight there. Do have it open, do read it. But things have stabilised quite fast, I have to say. Usually by this point we still see a couple of cars in proximity, squabbling with one another, and having a bit of back and forth, but no. Larson and Reed are our closest pairing. Beyond that, all falls silent. And as quickly as it started, the race is now settled. We see Larson pushing onto the back of Reed now. Now, this is an interesting one and something that I'm starting to notice across different fields. I mean, look at this right now. We've got Linatus and Diekman trading spots. And these two, their fight is all but moot. Just been encountered an issue. Larson, Serrano, contact. Let's jump to the helicopter. See exactly what happened. So, there's Larson in the number 230, Serrano in the 212. Braking zone of turn 3. Looks like a wide run and then closing the door. Oh, a bit of rear quarter contact there. Both drivers just coming together, unfortunately, in a very destructive way. Now Larson all the way down in P15. Morrison in his sights. Just a little bit of spatial awareness falling to the wayside there. I don't think it's inherently a bad move, but it certainly was a mistake and a lapse in judgment. Homer, out! I need to take a look at this mic. It seems that my microphone wire only picks up in a very specific position, so that's going to be a purchase after this race for sure. But Homer, out into the dirt and almost into the wall. Coming out of turn... That's a very peculiar spot. It was just before turn 2. I don't think I've really seen many drivers do that. See Bull and Tateru go for a bit of trade themselves, as Michael Bull going very narrow to the inside as well. Alex North heading into the pits at the 20-minute mark, at the 19-minute specifically, if we want to be pernickety. And it's looking like a lot of issues across the field, as we're seeing drivers sometimes just make lapses in judgment. I think this almost deceptively simple track is allowing the racers to almost drop their guard and not quite exercise as much caution as they would round a traditional circuit, with a bit more snakiness. I certainly don't envy the stewarding team with some of the stuff that goes on here. I know it's a very hard job. Morrison and Larson still running together. But looks like a stroke of luck for Morrison and Martinson, as Larson is off the side of the field, and it looks like, in fact, a disconnection. There's a frame of reference, folks. By this point, we have lost James Payton. It looks like we have lost Larson as well. Just trying to get confirmation on the sideboard and on our telemetry as we speak. We did lose Holmberg, which is another major hit. We did lose him a little bit earlier in the session. So a bit of rough innings for a couple of drivers, and yep, there is the confirmation. We have, in fact, lost Larson. Larson is out, and with that, we are down another driver. We are down to 38 participants on this racetrack. Trickett and Sullivan running together. Now this is a fight that I'm curious about seeing. Just out of the fact that they are fighting for serious points between each other. Yeah, just trying to get this mic in a stable position. Apologies, folks. See how these races are doing with the dust starting to settle across the entire track now rather than concentrating into smaller microcosms. There is a case to be made about drivers now starting to be a bit more conservative with their attacks. Of course, being decisive when an opportunity presents, like we just saw there. That is Chris Bourne making a brilliant move around turn 3 for Serrano's spot in P8. But overexerting yourself is only going to bring your rivals closer and closer in. And that's not something that you can afford. With the Red Bull Ring relying a lot on proximity to fellow racers in order to make passes. Whether that's spook them, slipstream them, or straight up beat them to the apex and hold your line. And I don't mean beat them to the apex in F1 rules, where absolutely crazy moves are sometimes justified with I'm ahead at the apex, which I think is not the way to do things. I'm talking about genuine attacks on the inside, where a reasonable line is taken, there is no elevated risk by going for the move, and drivers show respect to each other. That's what's the most important out of all of this, really. It's the drivers showing respect, respecting each other as fellow racers and competitors. See Serrano eyeing up the chance on the inside there, but doesn't dart it in. He doesn't go for it so aggressively. You do see Hermé going around this side of the field, as he continues his crusade of working to unlap himself and get back into good graces. Serrano getting momentarily disrupted by the Swift. By the Swift run. We do have a couple of flags here. Trying to catch up. So, reportedly an incident between the number 6 car and the number 248 car. So that will be car that is no longer on track. That was a little bit earlier. Maybe 979 as well. Say Peyton took out Homer, so that would explain the couple of absences that we've seen on the field. Peter Smith now heading into the pits, number 113. We do have the number 41 car, Christian Sullivan, who has had a bit of up and down over the course of this race, but isn't deterred. Getting reports a couple of contacts, but hopefully nothing too major. Here's Oscari now under one united front, as Serrano and Mitchell both pressurizing on him here. Despite being in fundamentally separate races, it's an opportunity for these racers to get, not their own back, that's not the right word, but to get a little bit of a challenge and a fight in as the chaos begins. See, Chris Bourne, in an interesting turn of events, has opted to head into the pits now. I think this race is one that's won also on the strategy front. So, Bourne going 5 minutes ahead of everyone else, effectively 3 laps early on the pit stop, is certainly something. We don't necessarily have pit blockages or anything like that. Double stacking isn't really a thing. It's purely your own race you're affecting by the timing of your stop. You may be potentially aiming for an open pocket, just to get some clean running without disturbance. And we are seeing our leader, Lindblom, head and do the same. That is a turn of events as well. So, this introduces a new element of the race. If the top brass does it, does the rest of the field do the same? Now, we see McNair and Wolfslanner, they haven't done so, and in fact, very few have opted to follow the leader's lead. They have simply continued and are aiming to go for the optimal swap. So now McNair is going to be inheriting the lead of the race, although it's not smooth sailing for him per se, because he has got a Peter Wolfslanner breathing right down his neck. He's not going to be letting go anytime soon. Big change-ups now happening in the field as multiple cars heading into the pits. The Marsh, Vishrek, just to name a couple. We do see that now we have a couple of cars back out, so Lindblom is back out again. We have Linatus and Gabbert doing a bit of a drag race out of turn 1. That being displaced fairly quick though, so Linatus knows how to handle that car, particularly makes his way out turn 3. The wife buff, I think the wife buff is certainly in effect. Receives encouragement, immediately gets a second on Gabbert within half a lap. I think that's, yeah, that's the wife buff in motion. Vishrek, Kellenberg and Teteru all into the pit. Vishrek now making his way out and coming into P24. Question on my mind is how the leaders are going to be swapping in all of this. Just taking a moment now that we have most of the field having pitted in. We do have a decent chunk in the mid-pack who are kind of squabbling that fine line. Wolfson and McNair and Björklund all coming in along with Serrano. A big wave of cars, although Larson, Johan Larson, staying out. Staying out. Who's going to lead the likes of John Mitchell, Rich Arscombe, Inatus in fourth. Where they will come out relative to the previous leaders, that remains to be seen. That certainly remains to be seen. Now, Lindblom up into 6th, technically in 1st because he's the furthest ahead with a pit stop under his belt. And Leonatus is going to be making a bit of a challenge. So north on the back of Zimmer as a messy exit from, I believe that was Martinson or Gabbert. You see Larson now into the pits, meaning that the shift is now going to be swinging back to the originals. We have Emil Thirdson going in as well. Drivers continuing to push up as much as they can. Lindblom currently stand 12 seconds lead and counting. Considering Niesbet has not taken their stop in, we are going to... Oh no, I just realised that I'm counting the completely wrong number. That's Lindblom's gap up ahead to Oscar. No, so when we don't count for Niesbet, who is on a different strategy and has yet to stop, we are looking at about 5 to 8 seconds, because it seems to be a little bit of fluctuation. I've noticed with some other drivers, so I don't want to say for certain. A little bit of fluctuation in some of the numbers. A lot of jumping up and down, but that is the hand of the pit lane speaks. Goodson will be coming out in P24. Out of the pits now. Just ahead of Ito as well. Niesbet heads into the pits. And right now, there is a chance for a couple of drivers to make a splash. Just about playing your cards right. Björklund hot on the heels of Larson right now. And Wolfslener challenging on the top 5 spot, with McNair being his primary. Linatus and Arscombe are going to head into the pits, meaning that these two will jump up, and it will be Lindblom rising to 2nd, McNair rising to 3rd, and Wolfslander to 4th. They're on even keel, both of them having taken their stops in. East McKez is going to be going in as now. That leaves us with no remaining drivers apart from Mitchell. Mitchell really going on that overcut. He's going aggressive here. Wants to put everything into that first stint, that first swing. Serrano and Reed having a bit of a squabble, a bit of a back and forth. As that's going to be Reed on the inside coming out of turn 4. 5 now, and then 6. It'll be a switch of angles. Reed is committed to holding that apex. Let no such opponent come between him and the peak of the corner. Doing a very good job in defense. BMW is getting impatient. Really angling for it now. You can see he tried to go narrow. Ended up having to brake much harder just to keep himself out of trouble. Now it's time for a bit of space and something completely different. Mitchell into the pits and last driver to do so. So what you see is now officially what you get. 20 minutes before the end of the race, 40 minutes in. Everyone has taken their mandatory stop required. And that's going to leave things in an interesting spot, as Mitchell's going to be coming out before long. He's going to be making his way out into the fields, and with that, might be embroiled straight away in the fight to stay in the top 10, as that's going to be Damien Reed on the outside there, fighting with Serrano. Looks like he's just going to be out ahead, but not by much. And Reed has a new target on his hands, swinging to the inside. And McNair is going to get a brief contact flag. Looks like him and Wolfslander are really going at it. See, Damien Reed will be a continued force, I think, in this story right to the end of the race now, as he's going to make his way past Serrano, up to Serrano, overcooking it in turn 4. We know Reed that has good pace on his day, about extracting that in all manner of situation.
That's his Achilles heel. Strength tempered by opportunity is the name of his game. But it looks like he's having a chance to at least let some of that loose. Wolfslander and McNair. Good duo to keep an eye on too, as they have previously come slightly to blows, although it didn't last in the same way that we have with Reed and Serrano right now. Most importantly, these two are being ruthlessly consistent. That's going to pay off big time later on. The drag race continues. Reed and Mitchell. Serrano being largely divorced from the fray. Ishirek and Nisbet also going into their own challenges. Interestingly, Reed doesn't see Mitchell as close enough to warrant a defensive deviation. He doesn't have to go offline. Taking stock then, 15 minutes to go. We have 37 cars on this field, and most curiously, we did lose someone in all of this. We did say goodbye to Dismukes just a minute or so ago. Real unfortunate. He is certainly going to be feeling that in the championship plums. It looks like he's not going to be the only one struggling in this race tonight. We will see more drivers give everything that they can, but sometimes it's just not quite enough. We do see the fight continue to squabble in the mid-pack. This is going to be Herme and Zimmer together. So Peter Smith making contact with the 169 car. Said a car belonging to Oscari Herme. At the very least, there is fighting at the same time. Everyone ran about the same pit stop time, give or take a second. We did see a couple of slower pit stops from the likes of Diekman and Trickett, but nobody taking out of the ordinary in terms of pitting in or out. Nobody has done some forbidden bizarro tactic. Zimmer along with North, they're going to give each other a real run for their money now. Zimmer going out ahead. Now the class dynamic does play into this, not as much as one may think out the gate, but it does have some interesting ramifications. For one, there are fights that you can just lose with no consequence. If there's a gold class car coming in you, and you're a bronze, chances are letting them go is going to be a lot more useful to you than trying to play a stubborn line in the sand. It's about knowing and having the self-discipline to recognize that it's not your fight to be had. And sometimes it is safer just to let them go. Ulslander in third position behind McNair. Now Lindblom has got 10 seconds on second place right now. Massive gap that he's built up, and a real testament to his pace. 128.1 fastest lap tells you all you need to know. But McNair is still putting down a real solid fight. Doesn't look like he's losing at any real rate positionally and in terms of deltas. He's a solid racer and he's really had a chance to shine here tonight. More drivers crossing that line. And with 31 laps under the belt for most, 32 for the leader. We're entering that crucial final stage. You know it, you love it. It's that judgment call. Should I stay or should I go? Should I attack or should I defend? The main thing, the main culprit, is sustained pressure. Sustained pressure. Nobody has been going completely crazy in terms of moves, and we haven't seen massive major fights. It's been more about that slow burn, that strategic aspect. And we can see that none other than Guillemard right now. So remember, on the recovery from a very difficult start and an extremely long pit stop as well, Guillemard 61 second pit time compared to 34 on average for the drivers around him. So he's got work to do. But he's just cleanly running, he's executing. And it's just piling on that slow burning pressure. Serrano returning to strength after such a contested battle between the likes of himself and Reed and Hermé for a brief period. It is now just bringing the balance and bringing it through. Okay, Serrano managed to let his patience do the work and do the talking. Now it's time for the racing to come to a close. It's about closing those deals. Back just in time for Bathurst. Oh boy, what a fun reunion you will have. What a time that will be. Bathurst, one of the highest risk, highest reward tracks on the calendar by far. Now that's going to be some real racing. Zimmer and Guillemot going for that swap, and even passing by Queen Kellenberg to make it temporarily a 3-wide shot. Now coming up to turn 3, and Guillemot has control of the inside. That apex of turn 3 is such a powerful tool. Really getting the nose in there will leave you with an ideal line to close the deal. And get yourself a freebie position. Some well-timed positioning and attacking is all you need at points. So less than 10 minutes to go. Hero is facing quite a predicament. He's got Smith on the left, he's got Lindblom on the right, a lap ahead. I'm just trying to keep himself out of trouble. Hero, we know, is a very conservative driver. And looks like that's paid off as he comes through clean and unscathed. We'll see Bisharek and Hermé trade, and Bisharek is already being tailed off by almost a second. Well, I don't think that he's going to be touching upon the top 10 again anytime soon. Hermé can certainly take pride in how he's recovered this race and how he's brought things back. All in. We did unfortunately lose another car. That's going to be Chris Wilson. So, out of the starters we only have, according to our records, 36 finishers. The Austria, bit of a retirement rate as a course. Well, let's see what the final asking. Will there be any final upsets? Morrison, Hermé coming together out of turn 1. Drag race out of turn 2 and into turn 3. It looks like Hermé's going to be the one to hold the apex and the advantage of the corner as a result. Really making his way up, holds the apex. Good line and good exit. Morrison giving him all the room in the world to work with here. And he's certainly going to be letting Hermé make full use of the track. More could maybe have been done to defend that from Morrison, but maybe that's not Morrison's real intention, because he's in a different class. He doesn't need to technically worry about him. Lindblom, 10 seconds still. McNair hasn't actually allowed him to draw away. The pace from McNair was actually faster by a half a tenth of a second last lap compared to Lindblom, although just crossing the line. We'll see how that measures up. Yeah, 28.8. McNair might have a bit of a chance at least closing that gap somewhat. 9 minutes or 4 seconds. No, that's the other way around. 9 seconds in 4 minutes. Near unsurmountable task to be able to accomplish, especially when you're talking about competition of this pedigree. So lap 37 and counting. By all counts, it looks like we will be finishing this lap on lap 40, or this event on lap 40. And we do see Bowden going round out of turn 4 and early into turn 5. Disaster has struck the 145. Wheels spinning his way to get rotated as fast as he can. Damage palpable on that front axle. Big problem erupting. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Peter Smith, no! 3 minutes to go and you've spun it round. Let's see what happened. Helicopter going to be our guide here. There's McNair making his way onto the scene. Michael Ball just ahead. Of course, McNair being closely followed by our main racing rival Wolfslenner. We do see Smith try and go narrow on the inside and in fact going to be sort of blocking off. See, Quinn Kellenberg is... Wait, what's happened to Quinn Kellenberg? He's... Yes, something has gone on majorly wrong there. Managed to spin his way out of turn 1. Can't say that's an ideal place to go for a U-turn, but whatever you want to do. Lindblom is in an interesting spot because he's got this massive margin to where he doesn't need to push. In fact, looking at deltas, he's about a second down compared to his best lap time. So either he's not pushing or his tyres have had enough of his pushing and tomfoolery. So as we come up to the line, it will be lap 40 that declares our final. The leader is now on the final lap of the race, and that will tick over to 40 laps completed by the end. As Lindblom is in full form and full force. Of course, we saw him with such a strong display coming out of Barcelona, and while he wasn't able to get an opener that he'd liked with that P5, back-to-back P1s is certainly going to be what takes him back on the map. Going neck and neck with a serious championship rival now in the form of Guillemot, a driver who knows how to push him, give him some run for his money. However, that's going to be a big problem, as now Guillemot is all the way down in P15. Major points deficit there, and that is going to put Mavis ahead in the standings. Who the heck, what? I think I just had a random thought and it just decided to interject into my sentence there. No, sorry. Let me start that one again. Guillemot, Lindblom, neck and neck in the championship, but Guillemot's P15 is going to blow this one wide open for Lindblom. And with the double P1 finish in rounds 2 and 3, now it's going to be a big one here, and Lindblom takes that checkered flag in beautiful style. Undisturbed, unbothered, and flourishing for sure. Second place with a triumphant finish though, it's Colin McNair. He's going to be taking away a healthy dose of points from this one, and is certainly a race to be proud of, as he's in second place, boys. P3 is going to go to Peter Wolfslenner, a hard-fought race and another solid one for him. He's going to retain, no doubt, retain that P3, if not leapfrog Guillemot alongside Lindblom to get himself into P2 and the good graces of this championship fight in his own way. We have Larson, Björklund and others, but switching gears temporarily, John Mitchell is going to be making his way through the final corners and is going to be the driver who snuck it all and takes top honours out of the silver class. Making his way through the final. Mitchell's a driver who's known to bring it home in race trim. Tonight is no different. and he's going to be enjoying a healthy sweep of points alongside the likes of none other than Rich Oscom and Visharek making his way down in P3 for the group. Finally, it's your bronze drivers, and Ibrahim is going to be your driver who takes the bronze. Unfortunately, he's disconnected, so he isn't going to be showing. Same with Thirdson, but Trickett, third position, and that is your top three. But that is where we do it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Now, apologies for a couple of technical hiccups and a couple of problems that we've had over the course of today in particular. Certainly going to be looking to get a couple of hardware replacements in light of today's issues. I can only apologise for that massively, as well as the vibe not being there 100% tonight. But be back on form and stronger than ever heading into next week. And we better be, because it's Bathurst, it's Panorama. It is the one track that is going to be absolutely electric. So that's where we're going to leave you for now, folks. It's where I sign out and don't risk any more crunchy noises or lack thereof. My name has been Ben Sapsford. It's been a pleasure as always. And I will see you, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you next week. Same time, same place on the channel. And we will be heading over to Australia for what is undoubtedly the highest risk run of the calendar. Take care, folks. And good night.